jobs for women and youth in a country that has grown cashews historically but not processed.
Je m'appelle Amani Loukou Charlotte. Mon village c'est Djedou en Ouzé. J'ai 7 enfants. C'est champ d'anakat là je prends pour faire école de mes enfants.
Vraiment blue akisi Véronique. Wakamasika. Nkranya ba mo sedike mi. Nya mi ho ere sedike ba. Nkranya ya ere. Itige wakamanya suebo. Etia ikokra we gwa kronsoa. Be fremi e ogedu anze.
Hello, my name is Luis Tito. I am plant manager of EN Cashew. We are focused to make the best quality with the best product, especially for you. We are nuts about cashew.
My name is Ashta Sherif, a quality director at EN Cashew, a BRC certified company in Ivory Coast. My team and I are working every day to ensure a safe product for you and healthy environment for all of our employees.
Salma. I'm the CEO of Ivoirienne de Noix de Cajou. Today, cashews are faceless, and our aim is to give cashews an identity. More than 40% of raw nuts in the world are produced in Ivory Coast, and we believe the cashew identity should be African. So we set up this factory to connect the value chain between the farmers and the consumers. The farmers are fragmented and the consumers are disconnected, and we are here as the processor to connect the two and tell you the story. And this is the story about creating jobs for women and youth in a country that has grown cashews historically but not processed.
Will be moderated by Florian Winkler. Florian is the director for the production component, and he is as well the deputy program director of the competitive cashew initiative, Cashew. Florian, if you can hear me, please, the floor is yours now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Blessing, for this introduction. I am, as Blessing rightly stated, my name is Florian. I'm working with the Competitive Cashew Initiative, also called Cashew. As part of my work, especially in my function as a director of production, we have been looking a little bit over the course of the last couple of years how to best valorize cashew as a whole product. That means we're not only focusing on, so to say, the crown jewel of the crop, which would be the kernel, but increasingly, and this is also stemming from an understanding of a holistic use of the product, see how other byproducts like the shell, like the apple, like the small tester, which is covering the actual kernel, be best put to economical use. The collaboration that we have been entertaining on these levels, as it is the case with RCN, has also involved the African Cashew Alliance. So we are very happy to take a bit of a deep dive today and look at some of the findings that we have been able to put together when it comes to analyzing the economic potential of the cashew apple. Today's session will be structured along two very broad lines. First, I will ask Jerry Anim from the Directorate of Crop Services to provide us with a short overview over the institutional setup that we have been undertaking this exploration into business models and potential for the apple. This is one of the key elements of one specific collaboration that Cashew, jointly with the Ministry of Food and Agriculture here in Ghana, plus our Brazilian colleagues from GIZ and the research colleagues from Embrapa, including also support from the Brazilian government through its own International Development Organization, ABC, Ghana, Germany, and Brazil have joined forces in order to transfer, as part of this trilateral cooperation, as we call it, to transfer some of the very rich and long-standing knowledge on how to tap into that potential of cashew apple pack this and transfer it here to Ghana. This is a little bit the institutional framework that we as Cashew and the before mentioned partners are working under. And in the first instance, I will ask Jerry Anim to present this trilateral cooperation, the overall setup, who are the involved partners and what have we achieved so far. Afterwards, I will give the floor to a very distinguished consultancy that Cashew has been working with for a long time, that we have tasked to take a very critical look at the overall market for specific cashew apple products, in this case, notably juice, and test out various business models that could be workable. So in the second part of this webinar today, Michael Arnoldus from Sense for Development, plus two of his colleagues, will be presenting a very comprehensive overview over the market situation and underlying promising business model that will help turn the huge potential that the apple has as an additional income source, income generating activity for farmers. Plus, it equally has the potential of actually kickstarting a whole other level of transformatory processes when it comes to using this product. We are very excited to have Michael present us these insights as the second part of this overall webinar today. But as I mentioned before, in the first instance, I would like to give the floor to Jerry Anim from the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to provide us a short overview of the before mentioned trilateral cooperation and where we stand with regards to this. Jerry, can I pass over to you, please?
Thank you, Florian. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, Jerry.
We can hear you.
Okay, right. So I'm sharing my screen. Good. So this afternoon, we are looking at turning potential into opportunity, business model for cashew apple industry. And we are looking at this in respect of the trilateral cooperation between Ghana, Germany, and Brazil. So I will be giving a brief presentation on this cooperation agreement. To start with, I'll give some brief introduction about the cashew fruit. I will then look at the trilateral cooperation projects and some results so far. The cashew fruit comprises the apple and the nuts. The apple is also called the false fruit, whilst the nut is called the true fruit. The apple has been found to be highly nutritious and has very high vitamin C content, higher than citrus. The apple also possesses an antibacterial properties. It is very potent in treating stomach ulcer and gastritis. The apple also possesses antioxidants, and with all these properties, it is widely used in the cosmetic industry. Even though the apple contains these properties, in most cases in West Africa, of which Ghana is included, we tend to cultivate the cashew fruit purposely for the nuts and leaving the apples to go waste. However, the apples can be processed into various products which are also beneficial to us. And at the end of the day, will give farmers an additional income. On my screen are some of the products that can be obtained from the apple. And these are clarified juice, the cashew syrup, the cashew pulp. We also have the cashew creamy and the cashew jelly. Apart from these products, we can also get alcoholic beverages from the fruits. We can get brandy, we can get wine from the fruits. Also, we can also obtain industrial alcohol from the fruits. On the next screen that you are seeing are products from the cashew apple. With all these products that can be obtained from the apple, in most cases, like I indicated earlier, the apples are left to go waste in African producing countries. Based on this, the Trilateral Cooperation Project was formulated between Ghana, Brazil, and Germany. And this trilateral cooperation was to help improve cashew planting material and byproduct processing in Ghana. The specific objectives of the cooperation is to complement technical know-how, in this case, particularly the apple industry, and to apply knowledge, skills, and experiences from the other partners to the cashew apple industry, and also accelerate research on high-yielding cashew varieties and varieties which are suitable for the apple industry. And the last one, to encourage total product utilization and marketing in Ghana. The major activities under the cooperation are exchange of germplasm and development of high-yielding cashew clones, well suited for the apple processing industry, and also improve efficiency of cashew processing technologies and byproduct utilization. Based on these major activities, 5 new cashew clones were received from Embrapa. Embrapa is a Brazilian research institute in Brazil, which is responsible for development and research into cashew. These clones are being evaluated in Ghana. When the clones were received from Embrapa in Brazil, they were acclimatized in our stations in order to make sure that they are well adapted to the local condition before they are sent to the field. After the acclimatization, these clones are being evaluated in the field. The evaluation is important because these are clones that came in from different environments in Brazil. The environment within which these clones were are different from the environment that pertains in our country. And for this reason, they need to be evaluated for us to ascertain the genetic by environment effects on these clones. These are the clones that were received from Embrapa in Brazil. In fact, the clones are doing very well in Ghana here. On my screen, this is the clones in Bole. And in Ghana, the northern part of the country is a bit drier and the soil conditions there are not that good as compared to the transition and then the southern part. Even though with this condition, harsher condition as compared to the transition and the southern belt, you can see that the clones are doing very well, even in the northern part of the country. Also, in order to progress, to make use of the apples as our aim, with the assistance and support from the Brazil technical expert from Embrapa, 2 training manuals have been developed in order to help build the capacity of stakeholders in the apple industry. These training manuals are harvest and post-harvest handling of cashew apple. Because cashew apple is a non-climateric fruit and highly perishable. Handling of these apples for processing need to be handled very well. And for that matter, the harvest and post-harvest handling of cashew apple material. Also, the cashew apple processing technology, a manual on cashew apple processing technology has been developed with the support from the Embrapa team. On my screen are the two manuals that I just spoke about. These manuals has been used to train some stakeholders. So far, 220 interested persons has been trained on the cashew apple processing. First, 20 trainers has been trained by an expert from Embrapa on how to on the processing technologies and how to process the apple into various products. Thereafter, with the assistance of the Embrapa team, 200 interested persons, value chain actors, were also trained on the processing of the cashew apple. These 200 were made up of farmers, artisanal fruit processors, and some MUFA officials. The artisanal processors that were trained, some took up the challenge to try their hands on the apple processing. And it is interesting to note that those that have been trained, some have started processing the apple into some of the products like the juice, the jellies, and the others that I mentioned earlier on. In my concluding remarks, in order to progress with the idea of making opportunity from the cashew apple, we have to create awareness through fairs and other exhibitions about the products that can be obtained from cashew apple. Also increase cashew apple product consumption in the country. When we do all this, it will help to increase the income of our cashew farmers. The cashew fruit makes up of 90% of the total weight of the cashew apple is made up of 90% of the total weight of the cashew fruit. And currently, our farmers are only benefiting from 10%, which is the nut, leaving the 90% to go waste. For this reason, if you are able to make use of the apple and the farmers begin to get income from the apple as well, it means that farmers are going to increase the income that they get from the fruit. So this is my short presentation about the trilateral projects between Ghana, Brazil, and Germany, and how far that we have gone. Thank you.
Okay. The host has stopped it. I can't start my video. I will be talking. I can't start my video. Okay. Anyway, thank you very much, Jerry. This is very much appreciated. Thank you very much for these insights into the framework in which we are trying to get the comprehensive expertise that Brazil possesses, not only on cashew, but in particular on how to valorize the potential of the cashew apple in economically suitable terms. So far, and this is also maybe a bit of a jump ahead towards the second part of our program, we will be asking also the Michael Arnoldus and his colleagues from Sense to illustrate us how this actual potential can be turned into an opportunity. In international agriculture, there's always a lot of talk about potential, but the question on how we can transform potential into opportunity very often is not straightforward. And without entering too much into philosophical discussions, I would very much like to ask Michael Arnoldus and his team to provide us with a short sketch on how they analyze the overall market, the global market for cashew apple, how this market can be tapped into by using the apples that are already here in Africa, in Ghana, and what needs to be done in order to turn this potential actually into opportunity. I know this is a big task, but this is why we picked also Sense in order to take this up. Michael, can I ask you to take over now and provide the outlines of your findings? Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you. Shall I just share my screen? I think I'll try to share my screen for the presentation. Let me first, okay. I wanted to turn on my camera, but that is disabled. Let me share the screen. Share. Start my video. Okay. Right. I hope, can everyone see the screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, great. Okay, so yeah, so what I would like to welcome, by the way, everyone. I saw there was like 60 participants, probably from all around the world. So I'm actually dining in from South Africa at the moment, where we are based. So our business is Sense. We've been doing consultancy work for a long time for GIZ in many countries, and working on this project is actually a team of, well, actually 6 people. So it's myself and 2 colleagues in the call, Barry and Gaga. Then we have a processing expert who used to manage juice plants called Gregory. We have a marketing expert, Kerry Kidd. We have somebody in Brazil who is gathering experiences there because, of course, we could not travel. And then we also have local market research in Ghana, who just last week completed 6 panel discussions with consumers and tasting of different juices. Okay, so I would like to, it's cut in 2 different blocks, is a bit the introduction methodology. So what are we trying to do? Lessons from markets around the world. And then also which markets and business models now should we be focusing on when it comes to cashew apple. So I think the objective of this project was, okay, develop 4 economically feasible business models for cashew apple processing in Ghana. And preferably 2 small scale and 2 large scale models. That was what was asked. And we had a few starting hypotheses. National view was from the first time that I was asked by Florian to present something on or do something on cashew apple is I've been hearing about cashew apple processing for about 10 years in Africa. I've been hearing the story for a long time. I've never seen anyone get further than you know, doing in their house 20 bottles or secondhand glass bottles, recycled bottles filled by hand. You know, I've never seen anything going beyond that. So its reaction was, this is going to be a very difficult to look at this properly. Then my other comment was, okay, the only country that I know of where they've actually managed to make a mainstream product out of cashew apple is Brazil. I've been to Brazil 2 times before, and I've actually, you know, tasted cashew apple. I've bought it in the supermarkets. I know it's a mainstream product there. So we need to understand what are they doing in Brazil. So the research questions that we came up with, you know, a number of them is what cashew apple products are popular in Brazil and how are they produced? what are the business models in cashew apple processing in Brazil and also in India. Part of it, we also wanted to have a look what's happening in India. In particular, how is the collection of the apples organized? Because we know that the biggest challenge is that as soon as when the apple has fallen on the floor, as it happens in Africa, it's already fermenting. You could do nothing with it. So in Africa, we've taught farmers that the apple needs to drop, then you know the kernel is ripe, but that does not work. So how are they doing that in Brazil? And also we know that as soon as you separate the apple from the nuts, I think you've got 12 hours before it ferments. Then what are experiences with cashew apple in other African countries? Is there an EU market for cashew apple juice? Was another question. Is there an opportunity in the local market in Ghana? What business models for cashew apple processing could be economic in Ghana? So these were our research questions. So what did we have in mind pre-COVID? We're going to Brazil. We have a partner consultant in India. And we're going to visit processors and farmers and points of sale and shops. Then we're going to interview EU importers of juice and concentrate who are going to come to the World Global Conference in Cape Town anyway and speak to bottlers and blenders. Then we're going to do consumer research with focus groups and tasting panels. We're going to have a look at the experience of Pinora, which is a juice factory in Ghana, which has made cashew apple concentrate. We're going to look at artisanal processing in Benin. We're going to do business modeling, interviews with processing experts. So that's what we had in mind. But of course, Corona had different plans. So India is still in lockdown. We can't do research there. We could not go to Brazil. We could not be present in the market research in Ghana. So lots of issues, basically. But nevertheless, we are trying to force ahead. So the lessons learned from markets around the world. Let's move on to that. Okay, so Brazil. So I did a number of interviews in Brazil, and we're actually waiting for a more detailed study to come out next week. Yes, there is talk of lots of products with cashew that you can make with cashew, but the only thing that's really is mainstream in Brazil is cashew apple juice. So if you know that if in Brazil they only do juice, that's probably where you have to focus on, right? Now, there are 4 basic product formats for juice. So there's casuina, which is a clarified cashew apple juice, which is artisanally produced in the Northeast, which is the cashew region, and which is bottled in recycled beer bottles for a local Northeast Brazil market. So that's the first product. The second product is mainstream juice for the national market, and it's industrially processed, manufactured from concentrate. So you have a juicing plant that does a concentrate, that puts it in 210-liter drums, and then sells it on to a bottler, which is maybe in Sao Paulo, and puts it in a nice Tetra Pak. Maybe blends with other juices, but that's an industrial product that you can buy in a supermarket. Then something else, which is quite interesting, is frozen juice portions. And it's more for home consumption. It's for juice bars, which are very popular in Brazil. You can go to a street corner in Rio, and they can make you any kind of juice. And when you need, usually it's fresh, but there's a few things like acai and cashew apple, which are actually coming from frozen packs. And then something else that we saw was a carbonated canned cashew juice. You know, you could say it's a alcohol-free cider, which you manufacture industrially by taking a concentrate and adding soda water. Now, one big eye-opener for us is that the reason that artisanal juice works in Brazil, but not in Africa, is that there is no deposit on beer bottles. The beer bottles are for free. It's not like in Africa where there's a deposit on it, where you have to give it back to the beer company to get a new set of glass bottles. So recycled bottles are cheap, they're plenty, they're easy to find. Whereas in Africa, you are always limited by the amount of standard glass bottles that you can find. Something else that we learned is, yes, Brazil is very mainstream, but they also only still do 30% of cashew apples processing. So still 70% of cashew apples are also not processed in Brazil. Cashew apple supply comes mostly from small farmers. That was also a big question I had. You know, is it that they can get these apples without fermentation because it comes from a big 100-hectare estate. But actually, no, it comes from small farmers. So that means you can actually teach small farmers on how to harvest this properly and, you know, organize the logistics from small farmers to an industrial plant. The other thing that we've learned is that these cashew apples are harvested from trees in the morning. So they don't wait for the apple to drop, they harvest from the tree. Then they have the apple with the nut together, and that's separated from the nut, let's say early afternoon, after they've stopped picking. And then it's collected by a truck from the factory, who then processes it during the evening and the night to make sure it does not ferment. Then there are also pre-processors. So when the farmers are too far away from a large juice plant, you have a pre-processor. That's a small mobile juice company who may do pineapple and mango, depending on the season. But in cashew season, they will press and stabilize that juice, and they will do it in drums or bulk bags. They reserve this in it, and every 2, 3, 4 days, they ship it in bulk to the larger plant, and will then make it into a concentrate. So that's actually an interesting model that also Pinora in Ghana has tried. And then finally, we learned that, yes, in Brazil, cashew apple is mainstream, but they are actually not exporting this product. So they haven't cracked the European market for cashew apple either, despite them having these industrial companies that export, thousands of tons of mango and orange juice to Europe. They are not exporting cashew apple at the moment. Then we did our market review. And I think what is very important to realize, and this is a lesson we've learned over the past 2 or 3 years, is that if you talk about juice, there are actually 2 distinctly different business models. In Africa, somebody tries to start juice, and they normally think that you need to take the fruit, you squeeze it, you bottle it, you sell it to a consumer via a distributor. We do everything in one. But actually, this is not how the juice world works. You have juicing companies, and what they do is they juice amounts of few fruits that are close to the plant, and they do this for sale in bulk. So they will do mango, or they will do mango and pineapple, or pineapple and orange. They will do 4,000 tons, 10,000 tons. They will put this in barrels, and they will sell this to an actual bottler. So this is to business company. They don't sell commerce. Now the juice bottler, he never even touches the fruit. He's got nothing to do with fruit. He just buys concentrates and juices, blends this, and he will bottle this in a nice bottle with his own nice brand, and then sell it via distributors and wholesalers to bars and restaurants and supermarkets. So that's what we have to keep in mind. Now, both of these business models are large-scale operations. You need 2.5 to 5 million euros investment. A Tetra Pak line for just one pack size is 4 million euro. The other thing we know is that the juice industry is a blending game. What you do as a juice company is you blend lots of different flavors from different countries to get a stable flavor that is the whole year round at a low cost and that the consumer likes. So you blend a variety of fruit to get interesting flavor at the lowest cost. And you may also blend Brazilian juice with Ghanaian juice to kind of get a stable kind of flavor. Then there are 3 types of juices for blends. So we talked about that the juice is a blend, and in South Africa or even in Ghana, if you buy a pack of cereals, you will find that in the back it says it is apple and or grape and or pineapple and mango and guava and all together. So the juicing game, how does it work? You have a base ingredient that, they call it the base. That's a cheap and neutral flavored fruit. It's an apple, maybe an orange, a pear, a grape. It's just sweet, it's cheap, it's 60, 70% of your juice. That's your carrier. Then you have a differentiation ingredient, something that gives you a unique flavor or that helps you claim that it is mango juice. But that is expensive, so you don't want to use too much of it. That's your pineapple, a mango, a passion fruit, a grapefruit, a cranberry. So if you buy mango juice in Europe, there's maybe 10, 15, 20% mango in it at the most. The rest is a cheap base. Then you have a functional benefit ingredient. So some juices will say we are excellent, we are high in vitamin C, we've added that's something to make an additional health claim or something. The challenge now is, how do you get 100% fruit juice with an interesting flavor and ingredients at the lowest cost? That is the game. And the other thing to realize is that actually the juice market on the whole is a bit in decline, because people are worried about sugar and they're starting to realize, yeah, it's a fruit juice, but actually it's also just sugar. So we see that the concentrate and the traditional flavors is in decline. However, if you have straight juice, so you're not concentrating it, evaporating the water, it's freshly squeezed, it's tropical flavors, it's organic, they still grow. But yeah, if you do traditional orange juice concentrate, that is a decreasing market. So all of that also has to do with this belief of health. You know, when it's a fresh juice, when you haven't evaporated the water out, it still has all the vitamins, etc. in it. Then what is quite interesting is that we try to find out what has been the experience with cashew juice in the global juice market or the EU juice market. Because what we noticed is when we were speaking with these large importers like Deuler, Refresco, people are doing 300, 400, 500,000 tons of juice a year. Is that they said, yeah, cashew, yeah, I think it was tried, but it didn't really work. So we tried to find out, you know, what happened there. So about 10 years ago, large companies such cashew apple juice products. They thought that maybe this cashew apple could be a cheap base. It could be an alternative for apple concentrate, which mostly China. And that carries a risk because one origin, it's China. There's always worries about food adulteration. So they were mostly trying to explore cashew as a low-cost base. And this was, from what we know, done in Vietnam, in India, and also Brazil. But it was mostly unsuccessful. And we think, and from what we hear, the main reason is that a juice base is a high volume, low margin business. You're not talking about 5 tons an hour. You need to do 25, 50 tons an hour. But it's difficult to gather the enormous volumes of cashew apples for this model because it's a byproduct, it's dispersed, it ferments very easily. So it's actually not very compatible together. Then in the US, they also did tests with cashew apple as a flavor. So as this differentiation ingredient to give it, you know, something unique to bring it more positive. These tests, they say, were not successful. People didn't really like it, strange. And all of these experiences have tainted the name of the product. So people remember that it failed, but they can't really tell you why. However, what we also believe is that the market is much more experimental than 10 years ago. You know, there's many more different flavors of juice on the market. So it could actually be ripe for cashew as a functional differentiation ingredient. The fact that it didn't work 10 years ago doesn't mean it's not going to work now. I mean, coconut water has become popular. You know, lots of different things have changed. I mean, if you would say 10 years ago that you would sell celery juice, people would say, you're stupid, you're crazy. No one's going to drink that stuff. But it's happening, it's selling. You know, beetroot, carrot juice, all of that. So, yeah, all of that. However, you would need to find an importer or a compound house who is interested in investing in this product development, who can do this market research with you. And that's a long trajectory. So unless you have one of these strategic players who's interested in trying this again, it is difficult. You can't just say, I'm going to make cashew juice and just throw it on the market. Then experience with cashew juice in Africa. That was the other area that we looked at. So I think, as I've mentioned, the only thing that we've seen happening in Africa with cashew juice is artisanal casuina. So this clarified juice. And it's available in Ghana, but particularly driven in Benin with support from Technoserve, but they all face the same challenge. So they use recycled glass bottles, which are in short supply and expensive. The production volumes are limited by the availability of glass bottles. The unit costs are high, which makes the product expensive. And then investing in cheaper packaging requires serious investment in packaging line and a proper factory. But most entrepreneurs cannot do this. They are too small for this. So So it would require to produce year-round using a frozen or aseptic, become a bottler if you want to get a better life. And then you require marketing skills because consumers do not know the products. And then, yeah, once your scale increases, your sourcing of apples becomes an issue. So the conclusion is that this casuina model is very difficult to scale and therefore to absorb serious amounts of the apple. You would need to change something fundamentally in the packaging issue there. And yeah, I think, you know, again, yeah, in Benin, we have 5-6 people that I know of that are bottling it. It's been like that for 5-6 years. Their volumes are not really growing. So that's an issue. There's been one interesting experience with Cashew Juice Africa in industrial concentrate. In Ghana, Pinora, which is a orange juice concentrate and pineapple juice plant, has manufactured cashew apple concentrate for the Brazilian markets. And they've done it in 2 different ways. By sourcing the apple and then transporting it to the plant themselves, but the plant is not actually in the main cashew region. This was too difficult and expensive. That didn't work. That was the thing they tried the first year. Then a year later, they tried to have a pre-processor, which was Mim Cashew. And that worked, but ultimately the business was, I don't think, sufficiently profitable for Mim, and there was only one, so it kind of stopped. But the production was profitable for Pinora. Yeah, it was actually transported to and sold on the Brazilian market, this cashew apple concentrate. However, we think that one of the issues was that you know, there was one pre-processor that was very large in scale. It was almost like an industrial scale of 5 tons an hour, which makes your sourcing area quite large, and then also the barriers to entry for the business very high. So the ideal would be maybe to have smaller 1 ton an hour kind of pre-processors, and you have 5 or 6, you know, dispersed over a larger area where more people can feed into these pre-processors. And also Pinora is not completely dependent on one supplier feeding into their plant. Then final experience I would like to share is the results from Ghanaian consumer research. So we did 6 focus groups. So these are discussion groups of, I think, 1 to 2 hours with 6 participants. Where we did a variety of discussions around juice and then zooming into cashew and what they know about cashew, and also a tasting of a variety of products. Some locally manufactured, some blends, some pure cashew juice, some products sourced from Brazil, carbonated cashew, just to get an idea of yeah, what they think of the products. So we saw that Ghanaian consumers have some interesting mental associations with cashew apple. First of all, they say they feel that cashew is good for you. When you're talking about cashew apple, they don't know the apple, but they know the nuts. And they think that the nut is beneficial to your health. It's good for recovery. Parents have told children for generations that cashew nuts are healthy. So when you say cashew apple juice, they say, well, it's cashew, must be healthy. The second thing is that it's natural. You know, opportunity to taste the natural fruit, and if it's from Ghana, then it's probably, it hasn't been concentrated, there's probably no preservatives in it, no additives, so it's probably a natural, again, healthy product. And then it is both novel and familiar. So they don't know the apple, but they know the nut. And younger people particularly, they seem interested and to try something new, whereas older people see it as something around health or goodness. So that was quite interesting, because we've also had lots of people telling us that no, in Africa we taught people that they mustn't eat the apple because it's poisonous, and therefore people think that you can't eat the apple, so juice will be difficult. But we have not heard anything like that in Ghana, or at least in Accra, where we did the market research. Then what was very interesting is that actually the real winner is a blend with tropical juices. So the Brazilian sample scored high on appearance. They like the color, the clarity, but not really on flavor and aroma. Then we had 100% cashew juice that was made by Com Cashew, and it actually scored better on flavor and aroma than Brazil, but not so great on color and appearance, and it was a bit cloudy. The best scores, however, are the tropical blends. So what seems to be that consumers want a familiar natural flavor base of, for example, a mango. Then you add a ginger because it helps to mask also the weird cashew flavor a bit, which they're not used to. It's a bit of an acquired taste, I think. And then I like the idea of cashew because, yeah, that's probably very healthy. So if you make that blend, it's familiar enough for people to like it. It's interesting. You're masking the weird cashew flavor a bit, and it's healthy at the same time. What we also found very funny is that in Ghana, apple is seen as exotic or pear, whereas, you know, from a European or South African background, that's a cheap, simple juice. You know, for us, mango is exotic. So yeah, you know, the ideal juice combination would be something natural. It's nothing but the fruit. It's 100% juice. We don't add sugar, no added flavors and aromas. Local familiar flavors such as mango, pineapple, orange, and then a punch of goodness. You know, it's wealthy, it's healthy. That's also why you may add some ginger to it. So that seems to be the area. So we feel there could be an opportunity for this kind of juice blends. And maybe as people get used to cashew and it becomes a bit of an acquired taste, then you could maybe move to 100% cashew products. Now, what we also see is that there is space between the two major segments, because what we actually see is that you have a group of juices which consumers see as special occasion. It's a super, you know, it's something exotic. It's expensive, but it is quality. And that's, you know, that's, for example, 100% fruit juice or a Coca-Cola in a 30 centiliter bottle or a can. It's something for restaurants, pastors we found very interesting, and ministers. It's for weddings. It's a good taste experience. So there's a segment, you know, people want it, but it's too expensive. It's only for special occasions. Then there's the mass market drink. That's mostly your B brand sodas. I think in West Africa you have Yuki and those kind of things. It's a nectar. It's a 2-liter Coke. It's refreshment for a snacking moment. It's energy. It's for kids and parties. It's affordable. It's available, but it's not really healthy. And then we think there is, maybe you could have a mid-tier price. You know, something that's a bit cheaper than the imported juices such as Ceres, where you say, well, it's enjoyment, but it's also a natural product and it's a wellness product. It's good for your health. So yeah, that could be a direction for product development. So what was quite interesting is when we do this consumer research, we actually ask people to make groupings, you know, so we give them lots of products and we say, okay, can you put together what you think belongs together, and then you know, just give it a name. So we see special occasions on the left, and on the right you see church programs where you see a bit of the cheaper no brand products. Okay, so where does this bring us now in this first part? You know, what products for which markets should we be focusing on? So the EU juice market, if we want to focus on that market, we would need a strategic partner willing to invest in product development. That's a long-term project. It's not a quick win. It's something we would have to look for. Then the Brazilian market for concentrate is an option. Pinora did it successfully. The market was not the problem. The problem was the sourcing of the apples. If you can match the price, you can offer an alternative season and a risk diversification. So that's a short-term opportunity. And yes, still 70% of the apples are not processed in Brazil, but they're probably not close to a factory. And if the cashew season in Brazil is not great, then the existing factories still struggle to get enough apples into that factory. So that's where it would be interesting for them to have an alternative source in Ghana. The local juice market is an option, but it requires a cheaper blended product. So your casuina, artisanal in a second-hand, recycled bottle in small scale, or a new glass bottle is too expensive. And you need to make a blend. So that would be an opportunity for a local professional business, a Blue Skies, for example, who can do product development, who can do bottling at low cost, who knows about distribution and marketing, and that would require at least a concentrate or a semi-finished product that comes from, for example, a Pinora. Then casuina could be a premium niche market for artisanal producers, but it requires the bottling issue to be solved. So how can we get this casuina in a cheaper bottle that still looks nice? Then something very interesting is that we looked at cashew apple cider, which definitely has potential. We discussed it with Heineken. We discussed it with a big South African company because it's very big product here in South Africa, ciders. But alcoholic beverages are a bit out of the scope of GIZ. Then we also looked at medical grade ethanol. So can you not just make ethanol for the medicine industry? And there's lots of industrial applications for ethanol. But again, we found that the ethanol market is a very complex, high volume, low margin market because you can pretty much make ethanol from anything. From apples to, apples, even any kind of fruit, anything that ferments, from potatoes, from wheat, from barley, anything you can make ethanol from. So then the final slide, which business model should be developed to service then there is a part of the thing, yeah, that's in front of my title there. Okay, the conclusion, which business model should be developed to service these different markets? So if we say the industrial market, so we're talking about a mass market product, by an industrial bottler. Then we would need an industrial juice plant to produce a citrus, pineapple, or mango, or passion fruit. There's an existing plant, adding cashew concentrate as another product for export to Brazil. They could sell it to a local juice bottler, like a Blue Skies, or maybe in the future to Europe. But for that plant to work, we need a semi-industrial pre-processor who supplies this juice to the plant. And to feed that semi-industrial pre-processor, we need aggregators. So we developed a model where harvesters are coming to an orchard and they take the apple with the nuts and then they supply the pre-processors. And you may need a local bottling company like a Blue Skies, who then purchases those concentrates and blends and makes it into a juice. So those are 4 different models. Then the artisanal market. So, we talked about the casuina, maybe done at a local scale by a small company. We need an artisanal casuina producer who does a range of other juices and uses a contract bottling plant. And then we have developed a model for the contract bottling plant. So that is a service provider who basically provides a service of taking the juice and then bottling it for the small producer at a fee per liter per hour per bottle. So these are the models that later on in the second part of the presentation we would like to present in greater detail. But the contract bottling plant is supposed to solve this bottling issue of the artisanal producer. So that was a lot of information. I think over to the moderator now for questions and answers, I guess.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Very, very insightful, detailed, and very rich presentation, which is equally reflecting in already a rising number of questions that we are getting. Looking over at Blessing to make sure that we are evidently organizing and making available all the materials that are ongoing. This is to Berta Adjoa, your question on the availability of the training materials, and also Laikong Sofal. These things will be shared. You have already provided your email addresses. All of you who are interested in obtaining this material, please address yourself to the organizers and we'll make sure that it's made available, evidently. Michael, there's a question from one of the participants with regards to alcohol production from apples. on a small scale businesses. I know that you have excluded it from the actual scope of the mission, but maybe I can ask you to maybe elaborate a little bit on the feasibility of this model on very, very broad strokes, please.
Yeah, sure. I think it's a good question. Yeah, so, you know, what we understood from
alcohol production from apples, you were citing the cider before, as it viable for small scale businesses. Is this something that you can contribute towards too, please?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, no, I definitely think it's very feasible. The reason we did not include it is, I think, because GIZ cannot be seen to support, let's say, alcoholic beverage development. But I think it's definitely feasible. Yeah, I mean, it ferments very well. So you could make a range of drinks out of it. And, you know, I have a neighbor with a still, for example, who makes his own gin. Yeah, you can make with any kind of feedstock. You can make you can make alcohol, and yeah, there's two things you can do. You can sort of distill it 2 or 3 times and make a very neutral kind of alcohol or ethanol that you then flavor, and you can flavor it to be a gin or a vodka, or you know, you can give it any kind of flavor. You could try to develop maybe something more like a bitter out of it. And then the other thing that we're very interested in is the cider. So of course, you know, there's lots of, in South Africa, we have lots of microbreweries. So people who, even in their house or at a small scale in the pub, make different flavors of beer. Some of them also have tried cider, or they do cider. And I think in France, in Normandy, there are people who make cider at home. So we are very interested in doing a test actually in South Africa. We have a microbrewery in our village, and there is one large 300-hectare plantation in South Africa of cashew. So yeah, something that we are going to be experimenting with. And we have a very, very big a brand here called Savannah. It's a very big brand of cider here that's sold everywhere. They are actually very interested in this idea of cashew apple cider as a new flavor kind of thing. So I definitely think it's very feasible. Does that answer the question?
Yes. I think for the time being it will. I'll ask the user Galaxy J4 Plus to manifest him or herself if this is sufficient initially. Very good. For the time being, I'm not seeing. Very good. Okay. Good. There's contributions also from Brazilian experts. Maybe I should also make this very transparent. Amongst the audience, we also have a few distinguished experts that we have the honor of working together as technical experts in the context of the trilateral collaboration. I would like to briefly mention by name Rodolfo Oliveira from Embrapa and Fabio Pavia, both of whom have been instrumental elements in not only establishing the knowledge on cashew apple, but also helping them transferring this knowledge as part of the trilateral cooperation here to Ghana. So to the two gentlemen, I would like to acknowledge personally here in this context. There's a question, maybe, Michael, you can elaborate a little bit on the absorption capacity. Victor Oliveira, amongst the audience, is questioning, or at least, well, questioning the absorption capacity of the Brazilian market for exported products, as he sees that the national market is being catered to by national product, especially with an uprise in more area under irrigation, which allows for various cycles throughout the year. Thank you, Victor, for this contribution.
Yeah, so we're still waiting for more feedback from Brazil to get a better understanding of that market. Who are the players there? Are they under-catered? Are they over-catered? Do I see this as a massive market where we can have every African country producing large amounts of concentrate to sell in Brazil? No, I don't think that's the end game. I see it more as a short-term way of getting maybe cashew apple processing going. But the big win would be to find, I think, together with Brazil, EU markets, US markets, maybe in Asia. I think that would be the big win. And, you know, exporting to Brazil could be an interesting short-term opportunity to maybe do a proof of concept for one factory in Africa or two. But yeah, no, once again, I don't think that there's space for Africa to export, 10,000 tons of concentrate, not at all. But yeah, I'm waiting more detailed analysis on that.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. I think this phased approach that you're explaining makes a lot of sense. I'm scrolling down, so to say, literally, the question. La côté francophone. The question from Madame Giré, who is mentioning that evidently Ivory Coast has been left out of the scope. Madame Giré, I'm hearing your words very well. It had to do with the specific setup in which we undertook this study, that we had to select one local market that we had to place this study under. But evidently, you are very right to say that evidently also if we're looking at production potential, when it comes to the mere availability of product, evidently one cannot think about exploring the apple without taking the big elephant, Ivory Coast, into consideration. I think what this exercise also is looking at is understanding the market, understanding market opportunities, but then the real work also starts once we have identified these market entries, then is to create a lines of suitable actors for whom in all of these steps, they can also see that they can make money out of it and then create this supply chain. So evidently, as we go along, and this is also our mandate as a regional project, also working together with ACA, which is based in Ghana, but evidently also catering to the rest of the African market, is to see where other opportunities are. And evidently, Ivory Coast will not be the last country to be looked upon. And the very wide knowledge and the testing also on university level when it comes to exploration of cashew byproducts in Ivory Coast is well noted, but we thank you very much for bringing it also to the attention of the rest of the audience. Thank you. Michael, may I ask you, after this very insightful and comprehensive look onto the market and the previous stop at the various business models, that we are now start taking a look at some of the nitty-gritty with regards to these business models? Unless there are other urging, burning questions before. The chat tells me no so far.
No, I think that we had, was there not another a pause planned in between, or you want to continue straight into the business models? Hello?
We continue straight away, Michael, if it's fine with you. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. So then I'm going to just share the screen again. Sorry, I just have to see how I can do a share screen.
Don't worry while you do that, I will also encourage all of the participants to not be shy to ask their questions. Another thing that I want to point out, and this is also bridging the gap again between this study that Sense did on behalf of ComCashew as part of the Trilateral Cooperation, is that we are currently exploring the possibility of providing a more in-depth question and answer session for people who are interested in exploring business opportunities with regards to the cashew apple. We will organize and we will inform this group accordingly in the course of next week about the exact dates. We will be organizing a comprehensive training on questions centering around cashew apple. This will be done with the previously before mentioned colleagues from Embrapa, and we will be organizing this probably in the 3rd week of October. We will still confirm it also through these channels. This will be directed also at people who are interested and have burning questions when it comes actually towards underlying technical and economic parameters of their business model to cashew apple. We will set this up in a way that we will also ask you to provide your questions beforehand, which would then allow us and our experts to prepare this session accordingly. Just a bit of a teaser and to tell you that there will be a continuation towards this subject. Michael, can I turn back over to you, please?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I was just trying to sort out a logistical issue in plugging in my battery and being in a different location where I need a converter plug. So I'm hoping that somebody can bring a converter plug soon enough. Sorry, I'm just trying to, yeah, the business models. So the first business model I want to have a look at is the aggregator. Is Apple aggregate. So what does this model look like? We have a cashew apple aggregator. So that's somebody who trains a harvesting team, and the team comes to the orchard. They harvest the cashew for free for farmers in return for the apple. The idea is that the advantage of the farmer is that he has got his harvesting for free, and the aggregator then gets his hand on the apple, which he can sell to a pre-processor. Okay, sorry, just this. Yeah. So then this aggregator then transports it to an exporter warehouse, where the apple and the nut get sold to an exporter and to a pre-processor. And the pre-processor will separate the nut from the apple. And one aggregator, we assume, can service maybe about 25 hectares of orchards, and a minimum of 20 aggregators need to be connected to one warehouse or a pre-processor. Now, what is the key operational and financial data? The scale of this thing is 10 tons of kernel sold at 4 Ghana cedis, and that brings 50 tons of cashew apple. And they sell this to a exporter pre-processor at 20 pesewa. They source from 25 hectares. That's what we assume they need to get to these numbers, assuming an average yield of 400 kilograms of nuts and 2,000 kilograms of apple per hectare. And in some areas, this will be lower. In other parts of Ghana, this will be higher. Then the revenue is about 10,000 Ghana cedi from the apples. and the harvesting labor and transport costs about 6,000 cedis. So this person can make a margin of 3,600 cedis. The investment cost is about 11,000 Ghana cedi for a tricycle and 100 picking crates. Now, what are the advantages for the different stakeholders? And so first of all, for the farmer, it's free harvesting. And that saves him half a Ghana cedi per kilogram of kernels, which is 12.5 to 15% of his revenue. In Ivory Coast, the harvesting costs are 25 to 30% of his revenues. Yeah. Then the other advantage for the aggregator is that he has a guaranteed access to the crop. So he can make a bit of money on this story, but yeah, the biggest advantage is that he has the guaranteed access to the crop. Then for the kernel exporter, he can get his hands on the kernels, for which he can get additional income from pre-processing. And then what are the potential investors? Those are a kernel exporter, aggregator, and a pre-processor. Now, I've got in front of me 4 converter plugs. None of them seem to work for getting this into a South African plug. So, yeah, I'm just trying to see. Barry, is there a possibility that you can take this over before my laptop is out of battery?
Yeah, sure. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, yeah. So the advantages for the stakeholders, as Michiel was saying, the aggregator can effectively do the collection of the cashew nuts for free because he's taking the apples as his compensation. And then the exporter and so on, there's improvement in the quality and a guarantee that they will get the kernels. The next model, which is the apple pre-processor, the idea that Michiel was talking a lot about earlier in respect of, in respect of the marketing process, you need to have a pre-processing network, preferably, can you see me? Hi.
Yes, we do.
Hi, everybody. Yeah. So the idea is that you have a network of pre-processors who supply to somebody who makes concentrate, which is then used to make mass market juices for the Ghanaian or the regional market, as well as potentially for export to Brazil as a way of opening up the processing market effectively. So as a pre-processor, you need to get enough cashew apples in a very, very short space of time. It's very important that the apples arrive within 4 or 5 hours of being picked. If the nuts are on the apples and the apples are picked from the tree, you can extend that to 12 hours, which means that you need to process the same day. So the pre-processor will process and then pack. And unfortunately, at this stage, that involves preservatives, which are required to stabilize the juice for about a 3 to 4 day period, during which time the pre-processors need to supply at least 50,000 liters to a concentrating plant. Otherwise, they can't start up the process. It's too low a volume. So ideally, we'd have numerous processors supplying that sort of volume on a daily basis. Yeah. So business model 3, the juice plant itself, which does various other juices, could add cashew as a potential flavor. And in Ghana, the market would obviously suggest that cashew be a part of it with a what we call a functional value, that being that it's a local flavor, totally natural, and has a whole lot of health benefits. So the juicing plant would then concentrate the juice and put it in dissected drums for export, or sorry, I've moved on a slide, or for local consumption. So the current market price seems to be 1,580 USD for triple concentrate. Generally, that is to Brazil. When I say current price, that's the price in Brazil, because there isn't any export from Ghana currently. The minimum scale of 2 tons of juice per batch, that's to start up the machine. We've discussed this, but basically that means that is the minimum that they can send to the juicing plant per day for it to be able to operate. So if you have 2 suppliers, you can deliver.
Harry, maybe it's not. If you share your screen, and then if my battery runs out, I can log in through a different computer. But at least we won't lose the screen.
Okay.
So I'll stop sharing. Sorry guys for this logistical issue, but I'm not at my office at the moment, and we have some very interesting, stupid 3-pin plugs in South Africa, where it's very difficult to get converters from. So if you have a laptop, you always struggle. Yeah, great.
Okay. Is it working?
Yep.
Yeah.
Put it on presentation mode.
I'll continue like this for now. Sorry. As long as everybody can read what's on screen. I don't know if I can change my PowerPoint view. Is everybody seeing this? Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, everything's fine. We can see it. If you're just going to the slideshow, one thing below, you can also have it without the borders.
In slideshow. Ah. Where do I go?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Barry. This is fine like this, huh?
Okay, sure. Sorry. All right.
That's all right.
So we'd need 40 aggregators covering about 1,000 hectares to break even. And with the min cashew equipment of 5 tons per hour, and the complete investment in the factory is $3 million US. And we would suggest that the potential investor is a juice plant such as Pinora, looking to diversify their product range to utilize the plant better through the year. Conveniently, this season fits between citrus and mango, and they would be in similar geographic locations generally, so the factory wouldn't necessarily need to be mobile. Sorry. So we looked at the idea of a local bottler who would bottle for people who produce juice at home. An artisanal bottler, sorry. What's happened? Ah.
Yeah, go on. Barry, go on.
Hello, sorry, okay. So an existing bottler who produces concentrates and blends and distributes and bottles a range of juices in Tetra Pak, adds cashew as a standalone flavor, production process, quality control, blending, adding preservatives, and bottling and selling. The complete factory is 100 to 400 million USD, depending on the size and packaging material, and to be continued. This is obviously work in progress. The potential investor is not existing. Juice bottling plant, adding cashew as a flavor. The third
Now
model.
we're just going back, Barry, yeah? We've gone back to model 3 now. There we are.
Okay. So as you see, the existing artisanal juice producer who adds casuina to product range or other juice blends and gathers cashew and other juices directly from farmers and does pressing and squeezing with the juice in 5-2. Sorry, I can't see that. To 10-liter containers. Gathers enough for 250 liters of juice and use a contact or toll bottler to bottle the juice. So they would then process it and either pasteurize it or add preservatives and put it into PET bottles. And the traditional production process, by comparison, is washing, pressing and clarifying, caramelizing, and then freezing the juice for later bottling. We haven't got the key financial data there yet. Potential investor would be a company, I suppose, like Olam, who wanted to boost the income for cashew farmers to keep them in the game. Can we move to the next slide? I don't know what's happened here.
So that was the 5th model.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yes, but you can also take over control. Go on, Barry, please.
Okay, so the 6th model, a toll bottler who works with people in the previous model who've got their 250 liters of juice and they bring it to the factory to get bottled. And the advantage of this is that by bottling with PET bottles, the bottles are available at any time. You can buy as many as you need and you know how much you have to pay. Whereas with recycled bottles, that's more difficult. So you bring it to this plant and the plant does it bottles the juice for you and it might put preservatives or pasteurize the juice. Yeah, so the idea is that the line could be portable and it would be in a 40-foot container that could be driven around to different sites, but it wouldn't necessarily have to be portable if you had it in an area where you had access to mango, passion fruit, and oranges, and also cashew apple. So you could operate for several months of the year in fixed locations. So we built a model based on it has a 200-liter mixing tank and all the equipment required to do the processing. Obviously, the packaging is cheaper. Actually, it turns out that the PET bottle is cheaper than a brand new glass bottle. And with all the labeling and so on, we can do this cheaper. But the big advantage is that you could do it in a way that would increase the market penetration. You could package it in such a way that is suitable for wholesalers and shelf stable, and you could take that product to market. Yeah, so 69,000 euro investment. It's not insignificant. The production capacity, 1,000 bottles, 0.25, which we think is a good volume because of the potential high cost of the product. If you have a smaller product, it's it's a cheaper unit. So hot fill or preservatives. There are also other technologies that could be looked at. So those are probably the options. The variable costs 97 Ghana Peswe. It's 14 euro cents for a bottle with a cap. By comparison, a recycled bottle would be 110 Ghana Peswe. And a new glass bottle based on the Benin pricing is 1.6. So at that rate, 78% more expensive. 250 liters per batch minimum. That might mean you've got to have several people arrive to do it at the same time, or it might just mean that you have somebody arrive with 250 liters to process. The idea being they would have a product that is much higher quality and cheaper that they could then market, or that it can be put through wholesale channels. Yeah, a margin of 14 euro cents will be needed. Yeah, the packaging type and profitability for industrial juicing plants, drums, aseptic versus frozen, and bulk bags. These are questions. Can pre-processing be done on a small scale? Separating apples from nuts, aggregators or pre-processors. What is the role of current exporters? Sales price for local juice profitability of professional and artisanal juice producers for local market. Technology to better freeze and store juice for artisanal producers. Service charges of toll bottles, and input from Brazil. So these are things to be discussed. I'm sorry that I couldn't do the presentation the way that Michiel would have done, because this was his show. I don't know if he's still with us.
Thank you, Barry. I don't think that you should just sell yourself short with regards to this. Thanks for standing in. It's a lot of input also for the audience. So I would like to take a few minutes also to highlight that this is still work in progress. We from Cashew somehow strong-armed our very willing partners of Sense for Development to present the results to a wider audience in order to stimulate also discussion a little bit ahead of time. So again, I would like to thank them for having put in this additional work and provide this great input towards the overall audience. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Gaga. I know also that you've worked in the background as well as the whole team from Sense. Thanks a lot. I think apart from evidently, as clearly highlighted, that there's still a few elements that need to be brought, I think that it shows, however, that with the current setting in which the juice market on a global, but also with regards to regional pockets, the way it is set up, there is opportunity, but it's not just something that can be taken as a windfall or in bygoing. It requires to fill a niche in an overall setup. And I would like to encourage, especially the business community that is listening to think about whether there are opportunities that can be taken advantage of. So I'm opening the floor again for inputs, questions and answers. Yeah, feel free to ask whatever comes to your mind. Does the fact mean that we actually have a written comments is that everybody else is refraining from actually asking the questions themselves?
the Q&A open, because I don't see any questions.
I'm seeing Victor Oliveira as a very active contributor in the overall question and answers. Victor is, again, and I'm sharing it with the wider audience, that due to changes in overall production system and the emergence of dwarf cashew varieties that are very much geared also towards producing product that is being used for the apple market, that the supply in Brazil actually has picked up and prices have decreased. So I think, Victor, you are presenting yourself as a man of expertise. Thank you very much for your very valuable input. And I would like also to challenge you and make yourself available for eventual follow-up questions when it comes to determining the feasibility of exporting cashew concentrate to Brazil. If I sum up your very knowledgeable summaries correctly, you say that it will be difficult to do this at a competitive price. We're happy for your insights in this. Thank you very much. Dr. Yabode, can I ask you to to come in here, please?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, thank you so much for all the presentations and the models that have been shown for business. But my question is a bit off it now, but then it's essential to cashew apple. And the question is, what are we doing about the cashew apple pulp, especially its use in livestock feed?
Thank you. A very pertinent question if we're looking at a holistic consumption of it. Michiel, can I pass this question to you and Barry for the time being? But I'm also calling upon the Brazilian colleagues to come in with their knowledge on using the cashew pulp, once extracted, for animal feed. Feasible, and if so, only for ruminants or for which type of livestock? Thank you.
Yeah, so we haven't done any research in that because essentially we're talking, I think, about a byproduct of a byproduct. So you have the cashew apple, then you juice it, and then there's a pulp that's left over, and that then you throw into animal feed. So yeah, it depends. I would really need to know the experiences from Brazil actually, because you know, anything that's got energy in it, you can add it into animal feed. However, some materials will have certain chemicals in it that will make it suitable or unsuitable for cattle or for chickens. It can be quite specific. So yeah, we haven't done any research into that. And then the other question is the flavor palatable to animals as well, or the small ratio with something else? But yeah, most byproducts you can use for something. I mean, yeah, so I'm not sure whether the Brazilian side, but this is something that's done in Brazil.
Hello.
Yeah. I was about to come in, Doctor, if you allow. Oh, yeah, Dr. Yabode. If you have something to contribute yourself, please feel free.
Yes, because I am actually doing, I've carried out some research on the use of cashew pulp in poultry. I reside in Guinea-Bissau, but I did my research, PhD research, exactly on the use of poultry on broilers, and I saw that it's successful. But then we're trying to work out a way of making it you know, to effect the same thing of increasing the income of the cashew farmer and of course, providing employment. So I don't know how can come into this. Did you hear me?
I heard you.
Yeah.
As it is, let me answer on this straight away, Doctor.
Yeah.
As Michael has pointed out, we are looking holistically at the whole value chain for cashew in various countries. Yeah. So now, as one of a deep dive apart from the main product, which is the kernel or the raw cashew nut, we were trying to look a little bit into valorizing the apple. And within the apple, we were tackling the juice. We are equally looking at shells and other models as well. So everything that has to do with the feed, with animal feed, is not something that we have been looking into. However, your contribution might stimulate a bit of a discussion with regards to this. Okay. So it hasn't been within the scope, it's moving within the scope now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Additionally on this, Senor Oliveira has also mentioned that it's suitable for pigs and sheep. Is that summed up correctly from my end? Senor Oliveira?
Hello?
Affirmative. Very good. Thank you.
Florian, can you listen to me?
Yes.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to everyone. I'm not an expert in animal feed, but I know that in the Northeast region in Brazil, people use the leftovers of the pulp in a dry way to use as animal feed also to cattle, to pig, especially cattle, pigs, and goats also. But as Florian mentioned, yes, it's not in the scope of this study. We can talk after that. If you are interested, I can put people from Embrapa that are actually working with this team, with this area, to use the leftovers of the byproducts of fruits. Cashew is only one of them. I can put you in contact, and we can start talking in another space. As to say, I'm very open to, if you want, to try to put the people interested in contact with our colleagues from Embrapa that works with this area.
Thank you, Rodolfo. Thank you for your contribution and for your offer. It's very kind. Doctor, I'm very happy to facilitate this contact if you wish.
Yes, I'll appreciate that.
Very good. Then allow me to contact you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a next question? Or statements?
I see a question coming in around considering it as flour for functional food.
Yeah.
So I imagine that the idea is to see if you can make cashew apple flour and then add it in to food to make it healthier or give it a different flavor. Maybe like a type of moringa or something. that would be quite a complicated process and require a lot of research, I think. And also, to be quite honest, you have to then change, if that's the way you have it in mind, you have to change people's consumer behaviors and get them to add it into their food, which we've seen is the issue with moringa. So yeah, it's not an easy thing to do, because you also need a way to dry this cashew apple. So you probably need an industrial dryer. It's not the easiest thing to do, I would say. Unless you have a different application in mind, but then maybe you need to let us know.
Very good. Apparently we have another question from Theodore.
Hi, Florian. Good afternoon.
Hi.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, hey, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank you for the presentation. It's quite a lot of information to take in. I am CEO for Kedekachi Farms. We started cashew on a 500-hectare project we're trying to do from growing and processing. And I find the models very interesting. I think they would work, especially for large growers, looking at the number of hectares to be involved to gather the fruits and then process them into concentrates before passing them on to juices. So I want to know, when will the final report be over, and whether it will be available to be shared when it is finally over, when you've put it all together. And I would like to come into Cashew for a further discussion on that.
Should I take that one, Florian?
Yes, please. Please do.
Yeah, so the honest answer was 2 months ago, but that was pre-COVID. So we're kind of limping along as we're trying to do things from distance. I'm hoping that with another month or so, we have a final report with all the business models. And I think after review by the Cashew team, that should be publicly available and can be shared widely, I assume, as is in my experience the case with most GIZ materials. Yeah. And I think there's also a question on the Q&A from Sheu Salau, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, about the proof of concept and feasibility. I think that would be something for a next phase. I think what we're trying to do is sort of work out business models, and some of them are more proven and other are more theoretical. And I think then after that report, then the next discussion would be with Florian and also stakeholders. How can we set up a proof of concept? I imagine, you know, where can we test these things out? We have some ideas that we've already shared a bit with Florian, but I think that would be the next step. How can we move forward from this report and actually do and test something?
Well, if you allow me to come in here, Michael, affirmative on all levels. So the timeline that you pointed out is the one that we are working towards. To all materials that are produced within Cashew will be made available to the wider public. So not a question about that. The actual work now starts now. This is a basis which gives an overview on how numbers and model could work, but in order to breathe life into it, we need to now find, and this is where the Ghanaian business community and the wider regional business community in the West African sub-region will come into play, and act upon this information, see how this potential can actually be turned into an opportunity that can be grasped. We have started some discussion with interested first movers that would be interested to look at feasibility studies and how this could be done in stages. And we will continue to do so as part of our overall work. Also with our partners on this, which is the African Cashew Alliance, as well as the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, the unit that Jerry represents within MOFA, as well as other units within MOFA, are keen to explore how the already evolving cashew sector here in Ghana can be put on a broader basis when it comes to value addition. So for us, this is not an end in itself. The study is supposed to kickstart a work stream within ComCashew and our wider partner network, partner being public and private, in order to make this a success story. Thank you. I'm also getting good feedback on everything that has to do with the animal feed. In the follow-up to this call, we will also gather the information, make sure that we will provide jointly with the communications team of ACA the proper follow-up. I see no further reaching questions as of now, and would then like use the opportunity to thank, oh, Rodolfo has raised his hand. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. Rodolfo.
Florian, again, good afternoon to everyone. I just have about two brief comments. One is that it's as you said, this I guess this study is just a first step, just to shed some light about what business model can be possible, can have more drive in Ghana, and can also serve as a possible model for other countries for the West region, for example. But I would like to put one thing. This there is a lot of room to continue to work between private company, private sectors, and the government side. For example, in the model 6, in the slides about the use of PET bottles, I remember here in Brazil when I was very, very young, we used to have the same system that you have in Ghana now, that you need to return the bottle to be able to get another one. We had the same model here in Brazil to the end of the 80s. The change of this model and it created almost like a free market of used glass bottles in Brazil, and it made the glass bottle, the reusable glass bottle price go down. So, for example, this is something that can be talked with MOFA, for example, as the focal point to the government in Ghana. Maybe it's something that can be changed. Another model can be set in place. This is just one idea. And the other one is in the model 1, when you put you create the figure, the idea of aggregators to make the harvests in place of cashew farmers, maybe it can be the impact of this change in farmers' livelihood can be also assessed to see what the possible impacts of that can have in farmers' lives, for example. So this is just two examples of what this partnership between public, government sector and private sector can do about this project, and about the using this idea as a possible model for other countries, a possible case for other countries. So thank you very much for the chance to express these points.
Thank you, Rodolfo. Very insightful and very helpful. I think we can take advantage not only on the comprehensive technical knowledge that Brazilian researchers and practitioners have already established with regards to that, but also what are the structural changes that need to accompany private sector drive in order to make turning this potential into opportunity. I would like to close today's session by thanking all the presenters, Michiel and his team, Jerry, Anim from MOFA, ACA for hosting all of this. And I would like to pass the word back to Blessing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Florian, for moderating the session. Thank you to our participants for tuning and joining us again today. The platform will be left open for the next 30 minutes for networking. Share your name, the name of your organization, your email address, or your telephone number. Let's network. Please note that the next side event of the 14th ACA Annual Cashew Conference will be held on Friday. Coming Friday, we will have the next side event at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. GMT, and it's going to be on women in cashew. So we are going to have Cashew Women's Hall. The topic we'll be discussing is leadership training for women in cashew. And this session will be moderated by Yasmin Kumi. Friday, the 25th of September at 9 a.m. GMT, the next side event of the ACA's 14th Annual Cashew Conference takes off on Friday, 9 a.m. GMT, and it's leadership training for women in cashew. If you know any woman in cashew, please inform them that for her on Friday, the 25th of September at 9 a.m. Moderating the session will be Yasmin Kumi. The platform will be left open for 30 minutes for networking. Please share your organization, your email address, and your contacts. Let's network. Thank you very much for joining us today, and see you again on Friday.